Emma's Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe podcast.
Hello and welcome to Emma's podcast. In today's podcast, I like my recording that went off on its own. I'm like looking at it, I'm like, great. This is Monday talk, and for a Monday, the recording went on its own. That's awesome. So, we are moving forward to the winter right now, which is quite interesting to see the weather changing. Attempting of snow was very interesting on Halloween. Actually, it was very, very interesting. It's like, this is not what we want here. It did snow more up north than where I'm at, but still. So, interesting weekend with people coming and helping here, which is nice to have volunteers. Now, the question I have is it better when you have volunteers to have plans so you can utilize the skill sets and what is necessary, or do you let your volunteers decide to do whatever they feel like doing it? One of the things that I'm looking in leadership as well, and looking back at volunteer employees full time, everybody, when you go somewhere, you should have a plan, or at least something cohesive, so it helps to navigate what the task has to be done. It's quite difficult when you deal with individuals that are used to do whatever they feel like it, then not overnight, but progressively changes happen. So skill set can be redirected properly and utilized to the full extension of what is necessary to do. I know what I just said doesn't make any sense, isn't it? It's like, holy crapola. But talking about what are the needs, what do we need to accomplish, and who has those skill sets, and really utilizing them at the maximum or to the maximum. Because often when people decide to do what they want to do, it doesn't benefit the purpose of doing it. So I feel, and I've seen it in the past, when people deal with volunteers, because I did volunteer for the American Cancer Society biggest garage sales here. They had a structure, which is good. They had department head, they had a structure for everybody. And we were tasked, when I started, I wasn't a department head, but I did it a couple of years after I was involved there, 3 years after, something like that, for the cashiers, which was very good actually, because it was so helpful to be able to have a structure. So we were 2 department head for cashiering, if I recalled. And what we did was, one was sending all of the reminders to everybody to get them on schedule, getting the schedule booked, talking to them, making sure that everything was basically rolling with directions on the cashiers and everything. And it was very interesting to have people coming for a half a shift, for a full day. It was super cool to see the same people coming back and forth. So they had their use, you have the baggers and you got the cashier itself. It was super cool. It was great to do it. But it was a sense of organization. It wasn't what I feel like doing it. So when we were setting up the garage sales, which took a month to do that, one, they had to scout the buildings, which was very interesting. And those were like, we had big warehouse, we had the Montgomery Wards, one that was not utilized for years. So you build up an entire basically store. and they do the layout of the land, and the cashier were the last one to be set up. So for a month, then you would go over there and you were working in different departments. So that could be unloading the trucks, sortings, because you have to do the sorting. So we were looking at what was sellable, what was working, what doesn't work. And they set it up. Every department head would have other people coming in the department and helping them. So you got the people who were doing the pricing, you had the people who were putting this on tables, underneath the table, wherever they wanted to do as a display, which was very good, but it was all organized. Now, if we're looking at volunteers, it's easier to have a plan, to have an objective. Okay, you're coming in these times and you're going to do this. Not letting them loose, because I could not imagine thinking about that huge garage sales who took so many hours to do that. It was unbelievable. But they raised on like 4 or 5 days like $500,000 for the research itself, because again, this group of ladies, when they created that in 1968, I believe was the first one, they made sure that that money wasn't going to a general fund. It was going to research and help to find solution for cancer. And the money was traceable, which was good. So very impressive. But it takes a lot to do this. It also takes a lot to make sure that volunteers were able to do what they were supposed to, because there were rules. If you have not worked more than 40 or 50 hours, you could not go shop, because some people will go and shop ahead. But it was very good to see how well organized they were, controlling everything and bringing the structure. I understand when you have a small organization, sometimes you don't want to put the structure in, but you're going to have to if you need to have things to be accomplished. It's very difficult when you got a lot of things to do and the people just decide, I'm not going to come and do this, I'm going to do my own thing, and off I go. When you are really working to support an organization, then you have to be flexible, because structures help. As I said, everybody had different skill sets. So maybe some are good plumbers, maybe some are electricians, maybe some are very good with work, building stuff, with wood, cutting woods. A lot of things like that that really helped a lot. So thinking about all of this, it really helped to emphasize that we can provide, and everybody can provide, that absolutely wonderful support in a way that is beneficial. But sometimes people have their own ideas, because some volunteers have been doing it for so long that they feel a little territorial when others are coming and trying to put a little bit more strictures to the madness. Not understanding that if we add a little bit of strictures, then that will help better the organization. This is where you kind of bumping heads once in a while with those individuals, which is not that fun to bump head with, to be honest with you. It's not that fun at all. But it really helps to encompass, when we're capable to do this, to really move forward one step further than being frustrated because we cannot get what we need to get it done. Living a life of transformation is the same way. We can go with the chaos and go with the flow, which the flow could be totally disorganized, or we can go with a flow that has more structures that helps us navigate the changes we are all faced in our lives. It is quite interesting when we are in the midst of the change to see how can we move from one space to another's. What can be the bridge to have that actually that very smooth change that can help us to really be successful? It is challenging enough that we're close to the year end. North Carolina's areas, the Appalachian areas, is still in shambles. We got, I believe, tornado that happened in Oklahoma. A lot of things are shifting and changing, but we need to adapt, helping one another as much as we can, which can be challenging when we think we don't have, enough to offer. Sometimes passing on messages, information to reach others can help. Doing things that is for the highest good and the highest good of everyone. Trying to find the peace and the collaboration we can might have if we are feeling up to par to do it. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the volunteers and how can we get structures in there as well, because volunteering, it's like having people coming and helping to build something. And as Habitat Home for Home for Habitats, I still remember Habitats, and I forgot the last word. Maybe I should just search it on my internet. Actually, Habitat for Humanity. Here we go. Yeah, I had to search it. Same thing. Volunteers are working together in harmony, but with the structures, and that helps to build houses. We apply and should be applied everywhere. And I know some people are afraid that when there is no good structure at the beginning, to apply the structure because you don't want to drive away people. But if you don't apply that as a structure, you're not going to help yourself, and you're not going to help those people either, because some task who are maybe bigger needs to be done. And if you're not there to do it, then who's going to be doing it? So those are questions, even for a Monday talk, that could be interesting to explore on how to structure a space for volunteers or permanent people, either way, but how to structure it in a way that helps the company. Think about a startup company. When you start with your little pop and mom shop, you got everybody in your family involved, but you need a structure, because after a while there's going to be issues. Auntie Jane over there is pushing Auntie Margaret over there, who's getting upset because there is no structure, so everybody's going to try to boss everybody. When you bring structures into a place, it helps people to know where are your boundaries. And if you need or look for help, then you can reach out for somebody and say, hey, I need your help to do what I'm doing. But the structure is there, and it helps to navigate. The world, I always said, and that's always been my motto, the 80-20 rules, which is funny to say it because I always said even before I knew the 80-20 rules, I always said 80% structure, 20% chaos, that's just fine. But in most cases, it's 20% structure, 80% chaos. You are not helping yourself. It's not easy for people to be the bad guy. I have been in leading position. I've been a leader. I've been somebody who didn't need it to be in a leading position, but I've been a leader. I've been somebody who managed people, and I'm not talking one or two people. I'm talking about 20 people plus. And it's not easy to be the bad guy, but people don't want to. And when there is a conflict, it's not easy to be in. It's not easy to let people go. It's not easy to be that bad guy, but you're going to need that structure, and you're going to need to be the bad guy once in a while. I have seen many people who wants to lead, but when it comes down to setting up the pace or the new structures or the rules, they all run for the hills. And it's like, being in a leadership position is always going to be a moment in time where you're going to have to face conflict, disagreement. Now, you can understand people's frustration, and I always said it's never the right or the left side. Bring everybody into the middle, so we can all figure it out what and how can we work best. Okay? It's about give and take and trying to do what is best for the company. It's not about the people, it's about the company. And people are going to say, well, but it's about the people. No, because if you put the people first, then that becomes a bigger issue. It's about the company. What is best for the company? Are we going to create that chaos, or are we going to learn to work together? It may be in a limited capacity, but at least being able to do something that we can define who's what and how. If there is some gray area, let's put the lights on those gray area and figure it out. How can we work it at best? That's what it's all about. And understanding that sometime you're going to have to follow the wave of madness that's going to go up and down. And that's what you got to do. So the life of transformation is a life where we can understand where we stand into this world of madness, as well as ensuring that having the structure helps to smooth the bumps. And we all learn, and those structures are going to change. This is why you become flexible, or you get more flexibility when you're dealing with that. But a lot of people have a hard time with that. Again, it's not easy when there is no structures, and you're bringing the structure back. You're going to have some pushback. People are not going to like it. Some will not like it at all. But that's not about the people itself. It's about what is the best interest towards the company. Again, going and doing volunteering work is great, and supporting each other is great, but we have to be open to it and open to the changes. Also, as a leader, you have to be open to feedbacks. And I'm not talking the praising, oh, you're doing a good job. No. I'm talking the good, okay, but the bad and the ugly as well. Because not everything works like a charm. But it's wonderful to see when people have the opportunity to really show who they are, which is beautiful. But it also shows a lot of respect when you hear people and you look at it and you start to understand, okay, we got a situation here. I might not be able to resolve everything, but what can I take as a pain point and work on it to help the people? Not everybody wants to hear feedback saying you're not a good leader. No. And sometimes we're not good leaders. You have to be honest with yourself. The hardest part is to be honest with ourselves. Let the ego alone, leave it alone, and really look at the way we're leading each other, leading our lives, leading each other's. That's what it's all about. Not pushing anything, but just bring structures. So that was my little podcast, my Monday talk. Just wanted to share this because I feel it's so essential when you're looking at the life we're living in. What can we do to elevate ourselves, but also permanent people, volunteers? Because again, take example of Habitat for Humanity. Am I correct? I think it is. But they don't go and do nothing. You got somebody leading and showing people and building it up. There is a structure, there is a madness to it, and it's the same everywhere. So, all my love, guys, and we'll talk to you later. Bye now.
Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe Podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe Podcast.